The FDA, sorry, Anne-Marie, that's your read.
The FDA, apparently, Vlad, has approved a new drug that will help Americans lose weight, and it's set to hit the market later on this year. The drug is called Zepbound. Or maybe Zepbound. It's a new formula of the popular diabetes treatment Mounjaro. It joins other medications, including Ozempic and Wegovy, that have given doctors and patients a series of weapons against obesity, a disease that affects about 100 million Americans. So for more on this, we want to bring in Dr. Owais Durrani. He's an emergency medicine physician. Thanks for joining us. So we know, it's no surprise that all of these pharmaceutical companies have sort of rushed to take a second look at their diabetes drugs to see if they can provide another option for people who just want to lose weight. What can you tell us about this new drug? Or it's an old drug that's with a new use.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like you kind of mentioned, 40% of the U.S. population has obesity. That's 100 million people, so any tool is a helpful tool. We've been talking about Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro for the last few years. Mounjaro is Eli Lilly's version of that diabetes drug. Similar to the other drugs, they saw, hey, patients using this medication saw weight loss, depending on if you had diabetes or not, anywhere from 16 to 22%. And so they applied for FDA approval, and we have Zepbound. It's a little different than the other two in that it's got two molecules that kind of help you lose the weight, if you will. So all of these have what we call GLP-1, which basically lowers your blood sugar, but it also makes the amount of time the food spends in your stomach that you eat longer. And so you feel fuller faster, and you don't want to eat as much, hence losing weight. This also has another molecule called GIP, which does the same thing. It doesn't act on the insulin receptors, but it kind of slows the transit time. And so both of those things kind of make you feel fuller, you lose weight, and it's another tool for us.
All right, so let's talk about potential side effects, especially if people are not using the pharmaceutical for its intended use, at least the original intended use, which is diabetes. So somebody, and I want to sort of give you like what would be a case study for me, which is somebody who doesn't have any underlying medical conditions, but is just obese and is not actually suffering, because there's a lot of discussion. We've talked about this, Anne-Marie, that sometimes people are what might be considered from a medical perspective overweight, but really are healthy and may not even need to lose weight. But let's say for aesthetic reasons they want to, what kind of side effects are we looking at?
Yeah, you make a good point. These are medications that, first diet and exercise comes number one. When that doesn't work and your doctor and you decide that this is something you medically need, that's when we kind of jump to these things. In terms of side effects in the ER, the things that I see the most are nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Because, as I mentioned, the food that you eat is going to take longer in your stomach, and that's going to cause some upset, some cramping in some people. Kind of in rare cases, you might have inflammation of some organs, so like pancreatitis or gallbladder might become inflamed. That's going to feel like abdominal pain too. So anytime you start a new medication, if you have new side effects that are beyond, just feeling off and you're maybe vomiting or you haven't gone to the bathroom in a few days, reasons to call your doctor, and they may send you into the ER to make sure you don't have some of the more kind of severe side effects of these drugs.
What about the cost for this one?
So based on what we know so far, it's going to be a little cheaper than the other ones we have on the market by about 20%. It's still a month supply is going to be over $1,000. Currently, about 1 in 3 insurance plans are covering these types of drugs. The fact that this is now FDA approved for weight loss, that might mean more insurance companies will cover it, but it's still going to be something that's going to be fairly expensive in the upcoming year or so. Hopefully, there will be some programs in place that for those that medically need this medication can then get it, even if they don't have the funds.
So just to clarify, doctor, this sounds like it generally works similarly to the way the other two drugs that are already on the market work. Are there any differences, or are the differences pretty minor?
So there are minor differences. When you look at the studies, you may get another 3 to 5% weight loss over the course of a year with this drug, and that's because of that second molecule that it has that effects on the receptors. But all in all, big picture, they're pretty similar.
All right.
All right. Dr. Owais Durrani, thank you very much. Really fascinating.